Well, voters in Queensland are leaning towards Peter Dutton as their preferred Prime Minister. A poll conducted by YouGov shows that 45% of Queenslanders believe Mr Dutton would do a better job as PM. Marie, we'll start with you. Do you think we're staring down the barrel of a one-term Albo? Can we trust the polling?
I'm not sure. I certainly think that the government is not popular. But whether they'll lose enough popularity to lose the election is a hard one to know. More scary to me is that if they do, that we might end up with a hung parliament.
Sean, I want to ask you, you're in Silverdale in Sydney. Peter Dutton doesn't exactly have a whole lot of charisma, but are people really looking for charisma at this point, or is the country in enough trouble that people just want a steady hand? And in fact, his lack of charisma might actually help him because he'll be seen as that steady, serious hand.
I don't think it's about charisma or anything like that. It's more about economic management and taking our country to where it needs to be the best Australia that it can be. It's not so much a personality contest, I don't think, although, Dutton seems to keep his powder dry most of the time. And from a Liberal perspective, I just think they're a little bit on the conservative side, and they tend to try to balance the books and keep everybody on a level playing field so that we kind of, in a way, we are allowed to be in charge of our own destiny.
Well, speaking of Peter Dutton, he's out and about reaffirming the coalition's nuclear commitment. He says the government can't meet its 2050 net zero emissions target and says nuclear is the only fix. Have a listen.
The government is losing 90% of the baseload power in our country over the next 10 years, not into the 2040s or 2050s, between now and 2034. There is likely disruption to power, which means, not just that your fridge goes off at home, but that the cold rooms go off at the supermarket, that we don't have reliable energy for the manufacturing process, so jobs are lost in the Australian economy. Why would we tolerate that situation? That's why I think we need to have a proper, mature discussion about how we migrate to a new energy system where we can have renewables that are firmed up by zero emissions, latest generation nuclear technology.
Yeah, well, will the next election be a referendum on nuclear? That is the key question here. Dana, do you think it is time to look at nuclear as another option as we look to get to net zero?
Oh, look, absolutely. I think the overseas experience has shown us that solar and wind has failed to meet growth in global demand. And why aren't we having the debate? We need something that's affordable, provides security, and is going to have minimum impact on the climate as possible.
Yeah, good point. Mark, you're in northern Victoria. I want to ask you, would you live in an electorate where there was a nuclear reactor, or would that bother you?
Absolutely bother me. I'm very concerned about nuclear power plants being in my country when there is a possibility of war. Even major world war at the moment are on the edge, and already they've started to almost target them in the Ukraine, Iran, and more recently in Iraq. And I think it's not a good thing to have on the ground if you are threatened with land-based war. And what happened to coal? What happened to coal, guys? It's got a bad rap. We sell coal to China, but we don't use it here. Either start using it again or stop selling it to China.